a marketing group.
10 pounds in the last 5 minutes.
So yeah, look, I'm hiding mine. This is why this is up like this. I actually put the knee up so you can't see.
It's not.
Everyone's your friend, like I said, until they need you. At this point, it took me years. Mid-40, I turned 45 this year, and you know, you think you're happy, you're always happy, but happiness to me is peace.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of Too Many Topics podcast. This is actually a redo from last year because this kid became a friend of mine, I guess, on top of a great guest.
Thank you.
We had a studio malfunction, but Chris Uccio.
Scott, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for having me back. Appreciate it.
I joke about that because I butchered this poor kid's name about 85 times.
Everyone does.
And I know you have a huge following out there, so I don't want to get the hate mail tomorrow. So I want to make sure that I get that. But thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You know, last time we met, great story. I mean, you had a really, really inspiring story to me. So I said, look, if you don't mind, let's get back in here. You know, I know we had a couple of clips that got out there, but definitely wasn't the full show. So
Inspiring. I never heard that one before.
Yeah.
Thank you.
To me it is. You know, we all kind of grew up similar, right? So when I see people that, and you know it too, right? You have friends that grew up all together and some went one way, some went the other, right? So when I see guys go your way.
Especially from Great Kills.
Absolutely. That's why I say the word inspiring wholeheartedly. But again, thank you for being here. And, you know, let's jump right into it, right? I know you traveled Brooklyn, Staten Island, Florida for a minute, right? Back, forth. But it started in Brooklyn, right?
Yeah.
How long did you live there?
Not long. I'm going to say to elementary school.
Okay. So you had friends and stuff. It wasn't like...
Yeah, I had a couple of younger friends, elementary school. It was more family. Bay Ridge, Dyker Heights, Bensonhurst area. My grandparents were there until they passed. My mother left and went back before she passed. She was there for a couple of years beforehand too, but always had the original roots. But if I say born Brooklyn, raised Staten Island. So.
Yeah. So how was that transition, especially at that age, because you were leaving friends behind, right? Had to be a little scary going to a new land.
Definitely different. Staten Island was a lot different back in the 80s.
About 10?
I'd say maybe a little younger, maybe third grade, I think it was.
Okay. 8?
You know better than me.
Somebody told me once you subtract 5 from the grade, and that's how old you are.
It makes sense, okay.
Or whatever, something to that effect.
So
add 5.
Give or take, I was probably third grade, so maybe 8. I'm trying to do the math in my head now. You got me thinking, so it makes sense.
But you're a young kid, right? You have a couple of friends. They're not, you know.
Yeah, I remember, I guess you say being scared. Left as a kid, you want to be with your friends. You don't realize it was for a better opportunity, but.
Now, it's not you, right? Alone? You have brothers and sisters?
At this time, it was just me.
Oh,
It was just me,
okay.
yeah. Within like a year or so, my next brother came in, Steven. And then within a few years later, there was 5 of us.
Okay. So but they were all Staten Island born.
Yes.
Gotcha. And now, so you went Brooklyn. Where'd you live in Brooklyn?
A few spots. Originally 74th and 10th, between 10th and 11th.
You bounced around.
Yeah, a couple. They didn't own. My mother rented, and they finally, when they met my father, she came out here and they bought in Great Kills.
Okay, so that's what it is. Okay, so you because I was going to say, was it more of like a migration neighborhood? Was it just you guys?
No, so he,
work-related?
my father, it's technically my stepfather, but my father, he lived out here already. So he had a place in Great Kills. My mother and I were living in a small apartment somewhere. I think it was Bensonhurst at the time. And then they moved out. She came out.
So what's that like, growing up with a single Italian mom?
To be honest, it was my grandmother. My mother worked every day, all day. That's all I remember. I mean, you have slight memories.
That's
but
mom squared then.
Yeah.
It's even worse.
Well, Grandma and Nanny,
worse, but,
she let me get away with whatever the hell I wanted, to be honest.
Wow.
I was the favorite.
Okay.
Yeah, I was definitely the favorite. First grandchild. So
got it.
My aunts and uncles, I have an aunt and uncle only a couple years older than me. So, she let me get away with everything, and they took they took the slaps.
The brunt of it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's an interesting story right there. Just the dynamics of having relationships with your uncles and aunts at, a different age than normal.
Yeah, my uncle's 3 years older than me. My aunt's 5 years older than me.
Wow. That must have been fun growing up.
Elementary, junior high, I thought it was so cool having an uncle that was a few years older than me. I thought it was cool, but it was for the wrong reasons, obviously, at that time. But
well, that's, you're at that age, you're very impressionable, right? So
yeah,
we see stuff and we think, so you had said to me, when we spoke earlier that, you know, education was a big thing with your mother. That's why I said that Italian
Definitely.
mom thing, right? I can see.
100%. So my mother had zero education. I could ask my uncle. I think she left school in like 7th, 8th grade. Didn't even finish junior high school, never mind high school.
Now she's first generation? Or?
No,
Okay.
no. She's second, I'm third. Yeah, so she's second, I'm third. So I think because she had zero education, school was her first priority. There was times, remember Steve that was on your gentleman?
Sure.
So you could ask Steve Conley. He lived across the street from me. I was punished for one point almost a year straight because my grades weren't where they were supposed to be. So
Knowing Steve, he was punished too.
we would feed off of each other. Yes.
So.
We were.
You guys with the can with the string across the street?
we would sneak out. Actually, I would climb out my front window, jump out my front window, second story, climb down. We would meet on the corner, and I would have to. He would give me a boost, and I would climb back through the front window up top.
He was tall. That's smart.
This way, they didn't hear the door open.
Yeah.
So
See that?
the
Even at that age,
tricks,
right? Even at that age, we're trying to figure out how to be salespeople, get away with stuff. Oh, that's fantastic. So,
but yeah, school was very important.
Yeah. So you had said, so you here, you elementary school, Great Kills. You know, we talked about the different, you know, went down memory lane of the different places you went on your bike. You know, today I think there's a resurgence, right? It's funny when we were kids, you rode your bike everywhere. Right? Then it went into nobody rode bikes, and then COVID hit, and now all of a sudden it's a different. Now it's like motorcycle gangs of kids riding bicycles. You're in Jersey, you don't see it as much.
We do, we definitely do. It's just different. I don't want to sound like an old cranky man, but it's different. We hung out, we rode bikes, but we rode to the side of the road. I rode on the sidewalk. I stopped at a
Respect.
You know, it's respect. We may have been bad or troublemakers, but I don't know. It's
your elders. There were certain levels that you just abided by, right?
Yeah,
you know, today
so now they act like biker
driving
gangs.
right at cars. Like the difference is, I hate to say it, I just think we became soft, right? In our day, if we did that, we'd get hit by a car.
They would have clipped us or stopped us and got out and slapped us in the back of the head.
Right.
And said, go ahead, tell your father, let's go. We'll tell him together.
That's the difference.
You almost caused an accident.
That's the difference, you know? And
I'm not saying which way is right, which way is wrong.
No, I'm saying which way is right and which way is wrong. You know, and I think it starts with parenting, right? If either you don't know your kids out there, which is a problem, or you do know your kids out there and it's a problem. So, I mean, to me,
true.
You know, I have a 10 to 12-year-old, the perfect age to fall into that trap. You know, unfortunately, I have a wife that doesn't let my kids go one neighbor past the house.
Over.
Right? Yeah. So, you know, it's different, and I believe that. But you're right. I think there was an innocence to what we did when we were kids. You know, we just, you know, you woke up in the morning, you got on your bike, you didn't come home until you had to come home for whatever reason, right?
It was nice out on a Saturday. Get out. I have to clean the house. Go ride your bike. Go play basketball.
And you didn't want to sit there.
No, I didn't want to. No.
My mother's would had like the 70s music on, vacuuming. You know, I didn't want to stay there.
But definitely different.
Because you had said to me, right? You nude up. You were flip flopping between sports or education. So you're a little bit later in life now, right?
Yeah. I chose education at that point. Unfortunately, it didn't pan out. Left relatively early for whatever reason. But education to me, I don't have any children yet. I'm expecting my first, and my wife and I had this talk. Education is important to a point, and it also depends on the character of the person, of your child. Some need structure. Some need to go to school. Some need to learn the discipline and the routine. And others, what was that saying? They need to fly. Others have an entrepreneurial idea, and they need to grow, and they need to do something. Some need to work with their hands. You know, pick up a trade. And I think that comes down to a person's character and who they are growing up.
I think you're dead on. You know, the only thing I can add to that is self-awareness, right? It's just that, you know, whether it's your parents being self-aware, because a lot of times that's an issue too, right? Mom and dad want you to be something that you don't want to be. Or I think in your case, it kind of went that way a little. I think you probably would have rather played nude-up football than going to
Who knows what would have happened?
Or whatever that school that I didn't even know existed.
Health and professions.
That showed you where I was on the academic spectrum. So yeah, but again, as a child, right? Was there any resentment there to say, "Hey, I want to play football," or was it just like, "No, I listened to my mother"?
No, and you know, my mother was
with a wooden spoon.
No, it was more very conversational. You know, she would make a point across, whatever it was her say. You know, you did what your mother said. She made you understand why that was, and she said, "Look at me. I didn't go to school. I don't have an education. I have to look stuff up. I want old school where they thought you learned everything in school. It was before the internet where,
Absolutely, yeah.
Things have changed. Things have adapted. You adapt and you grow. But she was old school mentality. You have to go to school to learn what to do and then go get your job, work your 9 to 5, get your 401k, get your retirement and live life, because that's what she knew. She didn't know that there was other opportunity. My father, he was an entrepreneur. He had his own pest control business at the time, which was, I didn't know how great it was at the time. It was a great business. But she also saw the trials and tribulations of it, the ups and the downs, the hours that got put in. So I think she wanted to create more of an easy, successful life for me. And in her eyes, it was education.
And I think that sometimes, and we're probably, I know at times I am fearful, right? You parent out of fear,
yeah.
Right? Especially something that happened to you in life. So we talked about this earlier. The biggest problem I have with education is the fact that they teach you not to fail, right? If you fail, they say that's a bad mark. If you don't do good on a test, that's bad. Where life teaches you to fail to learn. And I think that you should, in life, fail fast, fail hard and fail fast and learn those lessons, because it'll just make you a better human going forward. So to your point, I think that, yes, each individual is different, right? Everybody has their own passions, right? And I think kids should follow their passions more than necessarily what their parents think that they should do. And I don't even think if that's a thing anymore. I mean, do you think that kids are a little bit more self-directed today than they were when we were kids? Because we grew up in more of a structured household.
I definitely do.
We have less options.
I think with the world is at our fingertips, so it kind of creates the opportunity, whether it's falsified for social media, but it still gives the hope where I think they could create, a young individual could create their own path with their mindset. Old generation may not think it's the right way. When I say old generation, our parents, grandparents, whoever it may be, but I think it all comes down to once again, to that character, but that structure for your children. How are you presenting to your children? Do they see what you're going through? Do you want them to go through what you went through? Set them up for failure, set them up for success. I do believe everyone does need to fail on their own or grow on their own, and that makes who you are and where you're going to be.
Obviously, education is important. You're a smart guy. Do you attribute that to some of your successes today, or do you think that at times hard work prevails?
Me personally, I don't think school had anything to do with my path. I think it was in the beginning. So the Commodities Exchange.
Yeah, let's backtrack. Let's give you a little bit of context of your path, right? So you're out of high school. You whatever you did for grabbing a couple of dollars here and there, but you said your first real job, your first real quote unquote 9 to 5 would be the Commodities Exchange, and that's
correct.
Early 2000s. How old are you?
I was just 21.
So talk to me about how, like a new kid on the exchange, I'm sure you started at some entry level position.
I was making, I don't remember the exact amount, but I was making about $150 a week.
Okay, and
take home.
What was your daily?
I was what they called a runner. My job was you're an executing broker, and this is a phone clerk dealing with a customer. He takes the order, gives it to me. I run the order to you as fast as possible because it has to be done within a certain amount of time. I stand there, wait for you, or you tell me to come back, whatever it may be. And I did that all day long, back and forth. I was
hence the name Runner.
Runner. That was it. But doing that, you picked up the opportunity to learn if you wanted to.
Sure.
To understand the markets, to understand how the customer places an order, and just the backside of it as well. So that was my first 9 to 5. At that point, big, bright-eyed, bushed, I was ready to go, seeing what the opportunity was. I did that for about 10 years.
And talk to me about that.
Yeah.
Right? As a young kid, bright-eyed, money coming in, right?
Seeing the money. Money wasn't coming in. I was making nothing. But seeing the opportunity.
Seeing that the opportunity was there for you. What was that like?
It was hungry. It was, I wanted more. But it's kind of like a kick in the shins because I saw the money that they were making and I wanted to make that money so quick. You forget, people put 20 years in. They didn't just show up and make money.
So the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, so you saw the opportunity. You saw these young guys, but once again, I didn't know these guys went to Harvard, MIT. Like there's guys here that had the education background to understand and manipulate the market. And then there was other guys right off the street who just had street smart, and the contact to make the money. So seeing the way it was there, it seemed easy, but it definitely wasn't easy. And you had to work your way up the chain. That was it.
So it was a cast of characters that you worked with as well, right?
Yeah. Indeed, definitely a bunch of characters. I'm still friendly with a bunch of them, so use my words lightly. But
and how did that market kind of disintegrated, right? Once it kind of computerized,
everything went electronic. They got bought out. Yeah, handful of guys stayed on. A couple of the old timers realized it just wasn't for them. It's hard to adapt after doing something for 20, 30 years. Open outcry, and now you have to learn how to trade on a tablet and compete with other. Just wasn't working. So a lot of people left. And
from what I understood, it kind of took away, right, a lot of the margins that were there. Yeah.
Now it was always regulated. I don't know the correct term to use, but now, what's the best way to put this? Let's just say, it took away those margins. Took away a lot of opportunity for those who were easily making money, couldn't anymore.
To a point, right? It took away some transparency.
It actually made it.
Well, you know what I say?
It depends on how you're looking at it.
Because and maybe these games were manipulated back then as well, where, you see fake orders in there and then they just disappear. And now, people are maybe, trying to leverage themselves against things that aren't really real.
But what happened is more a couple of guys that.
Or am I wrong when I say that?
No,
it happened in the real world also, or
it did. I wasn't more on the trading side. I was more on the back end, so I saw it a little bit more. Meaning, I saw the platforms. I taught them how to work on the platform and stuff like that.
I'm coming from a manipulation perspective. I was told that once that happened, there was other manipulations that were happening that you couldn't, as a little guy, keep up with because the
big orders come in.
Right,
you can't compete. There's no competition. That's what you're saying. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, so you couldn't compete with the big box. Right. They have billions of dollars where their orders were getting done in thousands. Yeah, it's just down. By the time you or your client got filled, there's no money, or it cost you money.
Gotcha.
It depends. So, or your orders just didn't get filled sometimes too.
I guess it's in all industries. They revolutionize, right? They change. They try to get better.
Everything.
Real estate probably was one of the last ones. We operated the same way for 100 years, and now you have, the platforms out there that are, obviously consumer oriented, right? They're going after consumers. They're not really going after the agents or the brokers. They're not looking. Yes, they can sell them leads and stuff of that nature, but when they created these devices, they created a better user experience for the consumer. With that industry, did it create a better user experience for anybody?
I think it did. Okay. I think those who wanted to adapt, but I mean, that's anything else. Let's take, we'll fast forward. I'm in the insurance industry right now. Been in just about 6 years. Over the last 6 years, things have changed unreal. So when your auto insurance, I'm sure they offered you an opportunity to put a little chip in your car or in your dash in the fuse panel, and it monitored your driving. And it was able to save you money, but it would never cost you money. This is what they pitched forever. So the whole electronic end, the telematics portion of it is where everyone's going big time. So kind of following like life insurance. They're doing a deep dive into your driving history, your payment history. It was always there, but now they have the electronic access for it. So where it would help you save money, now any negative effect is changing your rating system. So nobody wants to do this now, right. But within the next year or so, it's going to be mandatory. This has to go in your vehicle. You have to download the app on your phone. You can't be driving on your phone. They're going to know. And all this stuff, and it's going to affect your rate and hurt people. Definitely. Hurt people's pockets.
But do you think that they'll make it mandatory?
Yes. That's the way insurance is going. Everything.
I mean, then, so what stops it from a breathalyzer now? Every time you get in your car, you have to blow into a tube before your car starts.
I completely agree with you, and I'm a believer in your freedom of speech and your rights and all that, 100%. But now, if you look at it on a business standpoint, where they're losing billions of dollars a year, public information that's out there, Allstate, New Jersey, on their auto side, they're losing $1 million a day because of loss ratio, claims, payouts.
Why is it different than 10 years ago?
Meaning why? Because inflation. Now, the cost of a car is up. The cost to repair a car is up. Say when you're home, to repair a roof used to be $10,000. Now to repair a roof's $30,000. So when you put in a claim, they were collecting an X amount of dollars in the pool to fix a $10,000 roof. Now we're talking hundreds of thousands, millions of customers. Storms, Mother Nature's been pretty pissed lately. Storms are like crazy here in the Northeast. Unfortunately, we don't know why, but accidents are up. Is it reckless? People on their phones, people not paying attention.
Well, that's where I was going with it. Is there a factor involved in?
There is. There's tons of it. Yeah.
Is there fraud involved?
Absolutely.
But I'm assuming fraud's always been.
It's always been, but now they're figuring out with all these. They're figuring out, were you speeding? You have now they're protecting their asset at the end of the day. And I say, if you look at it as a business, it makes sense.
Absolutely.
Do I agree with it? No, because I'm hurting as well.
Right, but if it's going to deplete the funds that are going to pay the bill when tragedy strikes,
you shut down and that's it. There's only going to be one or two, and they're going to charge you whatever they want.
So for nothing now. So it makes sense. I mean, it's the cost of everything. Goods and services have just gone up across the board.
Yeah.
So let's just fast forward. I mean, rewind back a little.
Yeah, sorry, I got ahead of myself.
That's all right. But before the insurance agent, because we could talk about, like every other industry, how technology has bettered or hurt in some aspects, different things. But so now you're out of you. Did you leave when it got?
So I went from the floor. I had a few opportunities to take other positions. So I took a back office position, more something that wasn't in my field. The reason I did that, it was structure. I had a better salary. It seemed safe at the time.
After being in 10 years of mayhem.
Yeah, it was just something, it was better structure. Unfortunately, I didn't take opportunity of the position, and the guys who gave me the opportunity. I was going through, this actually my first divorce at the time. So I was reverting. I was going ass backwards. I went back to being just, not caring about anything that was important. And I had a great opportunity with a good group of guys that are super successful now. And unfortunately, they let me go. I didn't leave by choice. They let me go. They had every right to, and I wasn't doing my job like I should have. So at that point, I kind of reevaluated, decided, do I want to get back into this? Do I want to start fresh? Or do I want to try something else? So that's where I went into the hospitality side. I said, let me try something totally different. I need the cash.
Yeah, that's a huge jump, right?
Yeah.
Were you ever in the hospitality business at all?
I was always I was waiter, stuff like that.
But not paying attention, just making money.
Yeah, just extra, for fun.
Yeah, sure.
Now I needed to make money to pay bills. What do I do? So jumped into hospitality at that time.
Was it a buddy of yours that said, let's get involved, or you just came up with this and said, hey, I can run a...
It ended up being, I was just grabbing, once again, anything to do, and I created a huge following for myself, bartending. I was kind of outselling everybody by 10,000 more a night, which is...
That's where you saw your niche.
And I said, okay, let's do this. So a buddy of mine, we decided to put together a marketing group.
10 pounds in the last 5 minutes.
So yeah, look, I'm hiding mine. This is why this is up like this. I actually put the knee up so you can't see.
It's not a good angle in this room, by the way.
You're a handsome gentleman. Don't worry about it.
I appreciate that.
So we put together a marketing group and decided to go door to door on all these local bars and nightclubs, explaining what we could do. And we put together a team of 30, and this created a marketing group where we took a piece of everyone's pie for free. So it was no risk.
So wait, let's back up. You created a staff of
30
bartenders?
30 bartenders, club goers, bottle girls.
Right, staff.
Just...
Front
people
of the house
people to promote, yeah.
Gotcha.
And so we would go a couple of local bars.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Created ones that we knew we had a following. This time social media is growing. For each place, I also took the local. So I had different bartenders that worked in different places. So if you were a North Shore bartender, you knew Forest Avenue. I wasn't going to put you somewhere on the South Shore or like an upscale lounge in the city. You were you wanted your Forest Avenue, your Irish drinkers. That was
absolutely.
it. So we decided who worked with spots, and
most important,
created a name for ourselves. And
so, what was that company called?
That first company was called. I think the first one was Crush Events. So Crush Event Group. Then we brought on another young kid at the time. It was Kid Vin. He worked for us, but he kind of created his own side thing. It came over to us and says, "Listen, I have a niche group of guys. I could get us some other deals you don't have. Can I do this under you and use your name?" So, we have to meet everybody. Let's work it out. We'll do it the right way. We created a sub-event group. And before we had 3 different teams going at one point. So, and from there,
you calmed it out. And
then I took that and rolled over those funds, and I bought into a local bar, Bungalow 18, and we made that Island Poorhouse.
Yeah, so what was that like? Staten Island, right? You have a lot of friends.
It's
from sports to
it's fun until you own it. So when it's not yours, you get a stipend, like a pay. Your team gets, I'm making up a number, I don't remember. We'll give you $2,500 worth of drinks for the night for you. So I'd go around, hey, you want a drink? Yeah, this is yours, this is yours, this is yours. Come back next week. But now when it's yours, you're seeing these numbers change real quickly. And you'll be surprised when you don't buy people drinks anymore, or you don't let them in for free, they have no use for you anymore. So I kind of got fed up. I was just over it. One night, there was like 2 a.m. I'm sitting there and I was just like, what am I doing? Why? Why am I doing this? I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I was working a 9 to 5. I was in the insurance. I was trying to get that going off. And I was like, I need to give this 110%. And I walked away from everything. Goody. Just walked, didn't even sell. Walked away.
Wow. Because you usually, most people talk about that industry and they see the glamorous side of it, right? They're like, oh, I want to be a bar owner. This is great. I hang out in a bar all day, talk to my friends. I do what I'm doing anyway, and I'm just getting paid for it. That's what I heard you say.
In any industry, in any industry, I hate to say this because it's not everyone, but you're only as good as you are as useful to them. People would call. I was getting calls every day. Hey, how you been? How you been? Oh, what's going on Friday? I'll see you there Friday. And then you leave. No one needs you anymore, or you're not buying them back. Oh, where you been, man? Oh, I've been going over here. I got this bartender that takes care of me. Okay, have a good day. See you.
Following. Like
yeah, it really is. It's just
I didn't even think it was that.
And it's not just 1 or 2 people. You'll be surprised, and it's make a living off of it. But yeah, I couldn't take it.
I see like the analogy, Tom Bannis.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're friendly. With
yeah,
him.
I just saw Tom not too long ago.
When he does those things, it's like the same people. It's like kind of similar. He does. He has a team of people that goes out and provides, the entertainment for these shows and whatnot. But anytime I've ever played in games of his, it was always, you could name 60% of the place,
Well, Tom's great. Tom created an experience.
Yeah. And you
best way to put it.
And that's what you did, right?
Well, we did. I mean, there wasn't just me. There was tons of others that were doing it. But we created.
Some people thought the experience was getting a free drink, and that's, to me, that's the tough part, and now it's coupled with the fact that God forbid you might have had a relationship with that person or thought you did. Now it's like twofold. Now it's like, what am I doing? I can easily see how that gets frustrating.
And once again, fast forward to insurance real quick. I had all these people that were calling me. And I was like, oh, no problem. Now let's work my lead source, my internal warm leads. And everyone's your friend, like I said, until they need you. At this point, it took me years. No one wanted to give me business because I was your hospitality guy. But they didn't know I was doing this behind the scenes the whole time. And I have knowledge. Now I can help you, but you don't want my help because you don't think I'm beneficial to you at that point. Until they make a phone call and they ask for my help, and I'm able to help. But it just shows you people see you for what they want to see you as.
I think that's one of the things that enamors me about you, right? It's like I can look at you and I feel like we could do multiple things. We can go to AC and have a party right now. We can play, a pickup game of basketball. We can do multiple things, but I can also sit down and have a super intelligent conversation about the future of my family's wealth, the future of my health, right? So that's, sometimes hard to break that shell when you're seen as a kid in a hoodie all the time and, behind the bar, so to say, right? And you took you a couple of years to get to, I think, I don't know, you happy now with what you're doing?
I love everything about it. This is, I mid-40, I turned 45 this year, and you think you're happy, you're always happy, but happiness to me is peace. Peace and love, obviously. Have the love, and I finally found peace, which is huge.
Huge. And, people go a lifetime without finding it, right? It's just, you have to figure out what peace is to you. That's what I found in my life is with so much out there today in terms of information and in terms of just shock value in front of your face every time you turn that device on. It's hard to find peace, right? It's hard to even know what peace looks like.
They're not happy with themselves.
Right.
If you're not happy with yourself, you're never going to be happy with anything in life, significant other,
well, that's
your
what
children.
You had said to me the first time we spoke, and that resonated, right? You had made a comment that said, if you can't be happy for yourself, you'll never be happy for someone else. And it's so true.
Big believer. If you always think you deserve more, you don't deserve anything. No one deserves anything. You deserve what you put there. No one's promised anything. If you put in the work, whether it's networking or whatever that work to you is to help you become a better person, you'll grow.
Absolutely.
Internally, financially, family, whatever it may be.
You can use it across life. Like when you're not looking for something, you find it.
Yeah.
Right? It's that person that's polarized, that guy who's just too thirsty, that has to make $1 million out of $10 right now. Never happens, right? We all have friends that we know that try to do that, and we all know that, that shortcut never works, right? It's that slow and steady. And sometimes it takes you 45 years to, realize. That's one thing. I don't care who you pray to, what you believe in, whoever that person up there is, right? They make you get halfway through life before you figure out what life is about, right? And I think that's why, and we can talk about that too, family, right? You obviously had kids at an early age. If you're 45 or this is...
I'm expecting my first.
Oh, this is your first child?
Yeah, I'm expecting my first.
So then let's back up. Your first marriage, you had no children.
No children.
Oh, I assumed that you had
well,
children.
when I always say luckily, and I don't mean luckily because there was no good. Luckily that I'm actually still able to be friends with my ex-wife. And
very luckily.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We knew each other since we were kids. So, she has her family, just had their first child, and we're having our first. So it's fantastic. When I say luckily, there's no headaches or mess.
Well, this is where the peace comes in, and anybody that's been divorced or went through that situation is shaking their head right now, knowing exactly how grateful you should feel to have that, right?
Yeah,
because
it's huge.
You hear these stories out there that are horror stories. So to have that just equates back to that peace thing that you just said. It's probably a big part of what does
quality of life and peace. That's all I ask for these days.
You're soon to be, you're expecting wife and you're soon to be child. Do you know what it is?
Girl.
Oh, fantastic! You excited?
Beyond.
Over the top.
Beyond.
So going back to my first thing, that sometimes it takes you a certain time in life to figure out when the right time is.
Yeah.
Right? I had my first child at 40. Right. I waited because I feel like if I had my first child at 20, it wouldn't have been a good situation for my child. Yeah. You grow up, you know what you want eventually. So you seem to be there now, 45, happy, child on the way. When is you're expecting?
Turned 45 to October.
Oh, I thought you said this year. You said this year.
Mid-40s.
Turned 45 this year.
Turned 45 at the end of the year.
Okay, so you're still...
It's catching up too quick. We're expecting June.
Oh, great.
June.
Great.
Still got some time, but it'll be here before you know it.
Oh, absolutely. You preparing?
Yep. We just went shop. We just picked up nursery this weekend.
Oh, very nice.
Caught the President's Day sale. Save every penny. Penny saved is a dollar made.
Listen, Grandma used to say you just add another cup of water to the soup.
There you go.
Right? So it'll work out. But daughters are great. I don't know. I know as a sports guy, I'm sure there was a tinkling of wanting a boy.
So I have nephews and nieces. You always, as a man growing up, I want a boy. I want a son. I want a son.
That's where I'm going with it.
But knowing it hit me different when we found out it was a girl. I don't know. I felt like a calming peace came over me. So I'm happy about it.
Talk to me in 12 years.
Yeah.
And listen, I had my first was a daughter, and we always joke because we did that South Shore. Let everyone in the world know how you're having a kid, but the outrageous thing you can do to let people know. I don't know. That was never around when I was a kid, but it's a big thing today.
Gender reveal. Yes. I couldn't think what it was called. Yeah, and it has to be. It's like my Super Sweet 16. One has to be bigger than the next.
Absolutely. That's a great way of putting it, especially when you live in this geographical area.
Yes.
So we did the thing, and apparently I didn't have the look on the face that I was supposed to be as an excited father for their first child. And again, I was taken back for a second because, again, that macho, whatever you want to call it.
You had a vision, and that's...
for a lot of reasons, right? You want a son maybe first to be able to,
protect it.
There are multiple things go through a young father's head that doesn't make any sense when you look back on it, right?
It's a thought process.
Right. Crazy as it sounds. So yeah, I can tell you, but from experience, there's nothing like I love my son to death. He's my heart, he's my everything, but it's just different. It's just, I wouldn't trade my daughter in for 1,500 sons. Right? So I'm sure that you're going to experience the same exact thing. You're going to look at this child that you created and say, now I'm responsible for this child.
Yeah.
Right?
No, there's always that, like you said before, I forgot the way you worded it, but it's that fear of she's going to be my responsibility. What do I have to do Are you pushy? Are you not pushy? But you want them to become their own person, but you want to teach them right from wrong.
Someone you want them to do dangerous things carefully.
Okay.
Right?
I never heard of that one, but I like
it. You want
it.
them to stretch their comfort zone, and you want them to learn.
Be able to push themselves, yeah.
You want them to have some sort of safety net underneath them that it doesn't, become a detrimental experience for them and kind of shift them in a different direction, right? So, and I firmly believe that. I think that people say, well, how do you keep your kids away from social media? I don't. I'll be honest with you. What I do is I try to build my kids' self-esteem. I try to build my kids' self-awareness. I try to let them have self-confidence. And if you can create those things, all those other things are not a danger anymore.
Not important. They don't rely on them.
And they don't feel the tie to what somebody else might say about them or do about them.
Plus, they don't need that self-gratification because they're getting it at home.
That's kind of, how I look at things. I think that you have two ways of doing it, right? You either take all the stuff away, and you can't do that. Right?
It's like anything else. If when you were a kid, if you were told not to go to the arcade in Great Kill, you went to the arcade because you were.
Steve is going to get you down from the window.
Yeah, and we're going to go. Exactly.
Way you're getting to
if
that
you're
place,
told
right?
not to do so, I think you just have to. Once again, this is my first. I don't have children yet, but just from experience of seeing outside of the box, I think you have to let them understand the right, the wrong, the dangers, the benefits, and teach them hopefully to do the right thing.
You seem like a really good uncle.
I love my nephews and nieces.
I can see you're going to be the best father.
Let's hope.
Let's
hope.
I can tell. When people reference their nephews and nieces, you can tell that, they care, right?
Yeah.
Even in the light of sometimes them being snotty to you and bratty to you and all those other things, right? You still love them like your own. And I think you're going to be a phenomenal father. How do you see this work balance now that you're going to have to carve a little bit of time out of your schedule?
I'm putting in the work, and I've been putting in the work.
Your wife work?
My wife does ultrasounds, as well as my wife is also licensed, PNC licensed as well.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. She works with you?
She does work with me, so that's kind of the transition. We knew the long game. We've been playing the long game. So this way I have the help. One of us could take a step back, and she could still keep she's an ultrasound tech, so she could still keep her ultrasound tech, for the benefits and just to get out. I know you need to get out, and so she'll have a chance to work, see what others, and hopefully it pans out the way we planned it. So we'll see.
Well, best laid plans of mice and men. It never usually happens that way, but
But there is a game plan, so hopefully it'll, even if there's a deviation, we know what the long game is.
Do you have help?
I have siblings, but my wife's parents are the best. So they're local. They're out in Jersey every day, seeing my other nephews. So yeah, we do have to help if we need.
So you have your siblings are out there, or her siblings are out there as well?
So she has 3 siblings. 2 of them are out by us within 10 minutes. The other sibling is younger. She still lives at home here in Great Kills still, but her parents are always out in Jersey. So
yeah, that's important, especially in the beginning, right? Because you don't know what to expect. And, you don't know. Some kids are quiet, some kids aren't quiet, and sometimes it does get the better of you. And, I feel for people that don't have the help, because a lot of people did do that shift from Staten Island to Jersey over the last 4 years, young couples. And, you trade off one thing for something else. And, and I see a lot of people staying for that same reason.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, no, I have my help here, my mom, my dad, my aunt.
No, a lot of people that, they both parties, parents both need to work, full-time positions, 1 or 2 children. And sadly, it falls into the grandparents where hopefully they love to do it. They love to help.
And I think that the majority of them do.
They do.
Right? And you look at these costs for daycare, you don't have to work. I mean, it's either one or the other, right? Because you're working for daycare. I mean, the money that they charge is just,
I have a friend, his wife actually left her position. She did some, I don't know her exact title. She worked for a lawyer in New York City, but the cost of putting their 2 kids in daycare, travel to the city, and everything else, I think she was making like $200-300 a week. So he's like, my wife is away from the kids to make less than $1,000 a month. I'd rather her be with my kids. And
she could figure out maybe an online business.
Something, yeah. It's not worth the little that she was making. Obviously, it depends on what your salary is, but for that situation, she was better off staying home, not even working until she found something from home.
Well, I think a lot of people are utilizing technology today for that secondary income, to your point earlier about DTIs and, where people are, trying to stretch that dollar. And thank God they can do it, right? Your grandfather had to get another job if he wanted to make more money. And if he wanted to make more money, he had to get another job. He
had to physically travel to go get there and everything else.
Right. He didn't have a device on his hip that, if he said something funny, he could maybe make some money off of it, which I think is amazing. You see these different personalities and are nobody different than anybody else, right? They have the, the balls to do it, right?
It is.
That's what it comes down to.
And the smarts on the social media side, and the campaign.
Sure, of course. You need to, but that's anything in life.
It's a tool.
Know insurance until you started to get into insurance, right?
It's
You have to, like anything else. But I will say technology today, someone that didn't go to school, I really, really admire the ability to learn anything. I think that I've learned more probably in the last 5 years than I learned in the first 45 years of my life, if that makes any sense.
It does. I agree with you.
So I have a whole different take on, spending $400,000 on college these days.
School teaches you what they want you to learn.
Yeah.
And before you said, if you fail, it's down to memorization. So I know people who are smartest people I know, but they're not book savvy, meaning they didn't remember what was taught to them. Right. They're more hands-on, where I would trust them with anything in comparison to those who may have just
visual learners.
So that comes back to that school. It depends on who you are.
But it's also to your point, self-aware, knowing who you are.
Yeah.
Right. And that I think is the problem that people struggle with right now. Is like, we won't even go down that other road of personalities of what people think they are, but knowing what you are from a perspective of what your passions are in life, I think is super important. Everybody says that cliche of, do something you love, you're never going to work. I can tell you at 51 years old, it is important to have a passion. It is important to like what you do, right? You don't have to, very few people get the ability to absolutely love what they do every day, where they just, they'd rather do that than spend time with their family, right? They absolutely love it. Very few people find that. But there's majority of people out there that really, really like what they do. Mm-hmm. And that's good enough, right? You just have to make sure that, because it's tough.
If it wasn't tough, everyone would be doing it, no matter what it is.
Look at you. You're a salesperson, right? In my eyes, you kind of wake up, and it's a little different because you're insurance, but you wake up unemployed every day. Yeah. Right? I mean, if you're not out there trying to get another deal, you might get pennies on residual on something else.
But within time, that's all going to deteriorate. Yeah.
Absolutely. You got to keep moving forward, right? So that's not always that easy to do. I always said sales is simple. It's just not easy. You got to get up every day and do it.
It's consistency.
If you can tell me the 7 steps to be successful, but I have to do them every single day.
I'm a big fan of it's all of a bunch of repetition.
Yep.
Do I like going to the gym? No, I can't stand it. I used to love it. Now everything hurts. My elbows hurt. My knees hurt. But it puts me into a routine. I'm in the gym working out at 10 to 6 every morning.
It's going to benefit something else that you're doing.
It keeps me moving, and now it opens up my mind. I feel better. Now I have the whole day. I don't have to worry about, do I have to go to the gym at the end of the day? It's repetition. I'm a big believer in repetition.
It's funny. I got a funny story for you. So I was watching some guy the other day, and he had posted, so I was able to relate to my son with this. He's a big, big video game guy. He's 10 years old. It's hard to pull him away from it, but whatever. I enjoy watching him be happy. But there was a thing about how this guy just stood in a corner and he kept doing the same exact thing because he found a glitch in the game where it would just keep dropping whatever these things are down to you to get, whether it's energy, whether it's money, whether it's point, whatever, call it whatever you want it. But understand the premise. He stood there for hours because he found a glitch that if he kept hitting this thing with his sword, all the things would keep dropping on him. And he said, that's a lot like life. He said, I would have been more successful if I kept staying there just doing the stuff that you're
something that works, whatever works
every day. What happens is you get away from it. You're like, all right, I'm good. I did that enough. And you move to something else. And that's where people fail, right? It's doing that, the monotonous, or not even monotonous, but doing those things that you know will make you successful over and over and over and over. They don't necessarily have to be monotonous, but they have to be value, right? They have to be things that those, whatever you want to call it, $2,000 an hour stuff. And I think that was a lesson in life that, you just have to do the grind, and money is a byproduct of doing something well. The money will come.
I'm a fan. If whatever you do it well, no matter what it is.
But that was the one chance that I had the ability to teach my son something through a video game. So
Funny.
that's a win for me.
There we go.
Right.
Take something good out of everything.
So you're going to have
Hillsborough.
Yes. My man Dwayne, right? I tell you, he always hooks me up with the cups.
Thanks, Dwayne.
It's a little too early to start drinking. Otherwise,
It's water for now.
We'll take that later. So now you're going to be a father. You've told us your whole story now, right? I've seen, adversity hit you and you were able to pivot, whether it be personal, whether it be professional, right? How are we going to, what advice are we going to give our daughter at 10 or 12 or 14 that says to you, when you start to see, because this is what I'm starting to see, them almost thinking and acting the way we were when we were that age.
Okay.
Because that's going to happen one day.
It's going to hit me right in the face.
Wow, I can't believe what I'm looking at right now.
So also, it's a little true. I no children, but I am 16 years older than my youngest brother.
Okay.
And 14 years older than my second youngest brother.
So you were a father for a long time.
Always guidance.
Not saying that you were the father, but you were at 16 years old. You would have to help.
Yeah, always help. No, I was always helping. So they're both entrepreneur business owners, both successful. They're 29 and 31, I think they are. If I don't know the exact math, maybe. And they always ask me for advice on little things. Obviously, I'm not super successful, but I've been there. So they ask me just for little life lessons. So the one thing I always tell them, you need to have some sort of a goal, but you can't chase something because you'll be running in circles. If you lock on one thing and just chase it, I just learned, but back to peace. Find whatever you do in life, whether it's work, relationships, friendships. Friendships are huge. People think they need to keep friendships. Friends come and go. You'll have one or two, and that's family. Always find quality peace of mind. If it doesn't make you happy, there's no reason to do it or follow it or be a part of it. That's my main piece of advice.
And I think that's great advice, especially for a young kid growing up today with so much influence on social media, right?
You have to compare yourself to others. They may not be happy.
You compared yourself to one kid with a bike in the neighborhood, and
you always want something you don't have because you think it's better. Hopefully, you teach them where materials or
at what cost, right? People deserve nice things that work hard for them. I'm sure you've bought nice things. You deserve it. You work hard, But I find when people buy things that they don't afford, they tend to resent those things later, right?
Because it's holding a piece of them.
Now it's a bill. Now it's a this. Now it's a that. I bought this car. I bought this house. I bought this. Because I thought so-and-so thought, it's another thing that I think is phenomenal, how we buy things to impress people we really don't
That's what's getting. It's a status symbol.
Yeah. Especially in our area, right? I mean, I'm sure it happens everywhere, but I just think it's polarized here.
You've been in business a long time. I'm sure you know a couple of, I don't mean rich, I mean a couple of wealthy people where if they needed to tomorrow, there's tens upon tens of millions of dollars at their fingertips. Do they walk around in Balenciaga or whatever it may be? I'm sure they have a nice clean watch on, something that's an investment piece. I'm sure they're wearing a beautiful name brand, handcrafted leather shoe, tailored suit or something like that. That's super expensive, but to the average person, they don't know. This generation, they'll go out and buy a $600 hoodie and get on a bus, or just to show. They may even have money to do it, but they're not buying because they like it. They buy it because it's a name brand that I want you to see. Scott, look at this. I'm wearing this nice new.
I think that lends to financial literacy, and I think that's what this country doesn't teach our kids.
Not at all.
And that's
until after the fact.
If they understood that you want Balenciaga, go buy the stock, right? You want to eat you want to pay $7 a day for Starbucks. Go buy $1,000 worth of Starbucks, and guess what? The money you'll make from that stock will pay for your coffee. That's even. I understand that it's a very simple process, but that if kids thought more that way, they might not necessarily go out and spend the money on things because they know that they're not making the money. I was always told you buy luxury items when you have something that pays for that luxury item.
Yeah.
If you're just going to
your assets need to.
If it's going to be in the non-asset, again, I don't know.
I'm drawing a blank too. That's why I stopped. I was in the middle of speaking, and I paused.
You could tell I suck at my job. So, but
it's early.
My your assets and
liabilities. Yeah, assets, liabilities. There we go.
So people buy liabilities, right? That's and
all
they
day
think
long.
That they're assets. People, I just bought a new car. I understand, but it's worth, 30% less
It's coming out a piece of your salary, which is silly.
Oh, yes, correct.
But people don't know. So if you want to know, I could teach you.
Well, that's my last thing that I want to talk to you about. So where can people find you if they're looking to find you? And I'll have all these links in the descriptions below, all this stuff. But if people are looking to get in touch with you, talk to me a little bit about what you do right now. What is your thing that you're most focused on in the insurance industry?
It's a little I just had this conversation, actually. I was at a trade show for contractors in New York City. I was talking to a gentleman, and we were talking business insurance for his contracting company. And I was explaining to him, stay what you are, do what you like, don't change. Everything you're explaining to me, you're doing the right thing. When the time comes, we'll have a conversation. And then he was like, oh, man, all right. Do you know anybody who could do my home insurance that just raised? So I was kind of like, wait a minute. He only saw me as his business insurance where, in property and casualty, P&C insurance, you do everything. Anything from, I could insure your car, your home, your business, your life insurance, your investment. I could do everything because I'm licensed across the board. How do you brand, this is a trouble I'm having now. How do you brand yourself from A through Z without having a niche and being only known for that niche? So to be honest, that's where I am now. That's what I'm trying to do as far as branding.
Yeah, so that's it could seem to be a problem that, people only identify you as one particular type of insurance agent, which is bizarre, right?
Well, it's not, because if you don't know, it's they're not educated about it. And the average person doesn't know. They say, okay, they'll call your Allstate, and they think that it's only home and auto, but they do everything across the board. Or, you think I can only call Geico, or, those who have business insurance, like, oh, let me just call Geico and see what happens. As you get larger or a different spectrum on your business insurance, for your commercial stuff, you just don't know. So what do? You hit Google, and this is where
it pops up first. It's paying,
and that's it.
For the click. So if you're looking for home, auto, business, you don't do life and
life and health, professional liability, everything. Yeah.
Okay. So if you're looking for any of it, this guy.
Just my main page, Chris Uccio, ChrisUccio.
And do you get a lot of contacts through social media, or is it more through your website?
Everything comes to my personal page, which is weird. We market and solicit the handful of pages, and websites. Everything comes back to me personally. A lot of direct DMs, which is weird because I don't market myself.
But that's good, because those are the people that need the answer, need it from you.
They directly. So that's and I don't mind. I get texts, referrals. Oh, what's his name? Gave me a number. He got it from such and such on my cell phone. I'm on my phone all day long. So
it's at Chris Uccio on
at Chris Uccio. Yes, my personal.
Christopher, or is it Chris?
Chris.
All right. So at Chris Uccio, check him out on Instagram, and anywhere else you can.
From my main page, you could access everything we have going on.
Fantastic. Well, it was a pleasure having you here.
God, it's been a pleasure as well. Thank you.
Not only a great guy, but your wealth of information on many different platforms, which is makes my job a lot easier.
Jack of all trades, master of none. Is that what it was? Well, that's what it used to be. But
yeah, but you have to aspire, right? So if you're a master of everything, then I don't have any inspiration. So I need to always look to climb, right? If
always.
You're staying still, you're not growing. Hey, listen, again, pleasure.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks for having you.
Thanks for having me.
See you soon. And check us out on all your podcast outlets, whether it's iTunes, whether it's Spotify. This episode will be up next week. It'll also be on YouTube. Check us out at Too Many Topics Podcast, and we will talk to you soon.
Come on. Thanks for listening to the Too Many Topics Podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. While you're there, leave us a rating and review. That helps spread the word about the show. Want more? Check out www.toomanytopics.com.